This man here, for those of you that don't know, I sat down and thought of a number of different ways to introduce him, but I mean, he's got the Flatpack King tattooed on his thumb there, if you hadn't noticed. So I don't know what other better way than to introduce the Flatpack King. It's Andrew Steele from ASC Flatpacks. Andrew, thanks for being up here.
Hello everyone.
So Andrew, to kick things off, maybe I guess tell us how you became the Flatpack King and a bit about the business and how it's grown to where it is so far.
Well, Flatpack King is alcohol and barley, and yeah, that's probably the only way I can explain it, because that's very arrogant, because there's probably people in here are doing a lot better than I am, but I've decided I'm the king, so well, we're done there. I suppose initially I was probably like a lot of the people here, started off just general cabinet making and did do Flatpack on the side, but the old way of hand putting it in and wearing the mistakes that you know, that kind of way of doing Flatpack entails. And because I'd been on board with Go Cabinets with all their software, Travis came out, and I think it cost me $1,000 to become a Flatpacker, because I'd bought everything else. So initially it was a little sideline hustle, keep the machinery working. I think we were running it at like one day a week, 2 days a week, and you know, we were probably doing 1 or 2 Flatpacks a week, which, you know, I thought was fantastic back then. And as we got busier and the, you know, the octopus arms grow and more people hear about you, it became more of our focus, and now it's my main focus. So cabinet making for me is my sideline hustle, and flat packing is my business, and that's what I promote and try and get all my customers onto. I don't want to chase staff, I don't want to train staff, I don't want to go out on site, I don't want to talk to the plumber why he can't put the pipes in the right spot. I want to create cupboards for people. I enjoy their vision on what they want to create. I like sitting down with you know, mums and dads or tradesmen and getting their job into the system. So we'll do a little bit of training with them in the factory to teach them. You know, it looks a bit daunting to start with, but once they start getting going, you know, it's very easy, and as long as they can picture it and do it. But that the 3D rendering will blow it out of the water. You know, the mums and dads who can't quite work out how it fits or what it's going to look like with the you know, the colours, and it's sitting in the room and seeing it, I believe it's going to, you know, I think our conversion rates are going to go through the roof.
We've got a bit of a snapshot there just of the factory there, not sure whether that helps at all, but in terms of the pivot from, I guess, being heavily focused on installation to where we are now, I know a lot of people that we talk to, you know, even when they get started with this type of thing, think about doing more manufacturing, but whether that's a way to go or not sometimes is a little bit blurry. What can you tell us about your experience?
Well, 100% my experience is the pressure of running Flatpack is minimal. Where, you know, you don't have the problems. We don't do mistakes. You know, a client can order something incorrectly, we will help them out to fix it. But generally speaking, we may miss an edge, we might send out a wrong product, we might miscount something. We don't have any mistakes. So the over half of our turnover is Flatpack, and that side of the business is a breeze. The other side still general cabinet making, and it's still a massive pain in my ass. I'd prefer to, if you know, I push more Flatpack. So on the other side of this line is the same line again. Those machines run at about, you know, 70% capacity at the moment, not working them very hard. The guys are pushed by the speed of the machines, the speed of the return, putting it on pallets. You know, the machine keeps the pace. You know, if somebody's standing there doing nothing and the machine's not moving, you know, they're not working. Whereas you know, with anyone out on site, there's phones, distractions, problems, you know, clients talking to them. The productivity is so much easier to control with you know, little to no stress.
We chatted yesterday, and one of the interesting things you brought up was about people coming back to you saying that, you know, they've missed a part, but you've got a bit of a system there that allows you to know that that's definitely not the case. Do you want to expand on that?
Well, that's it. You know, the software does not forget to cut it back or you misplace something. You know, it's very hard. You know, we keep the factory pretty neat and tidy, so they cut the parts, they put them on the pallet, we strap and wrap it. the chances of that part going missing are very slim. If a client comes back in and says to me, we're missing backs, and I go, well, you're not. They're there, or someone's nicked them. We'll do our best to help people out. But as we were discussing yesterday, if somebody comes in and says, I have damaged this, we will go and fix that for them, because that's it's a respect thing, it's just things don't go missing. The guys in the factory loading a truck, they lean a filler up over there while they load the other cupboards. It doesn't go out, or the feet don't go out. It's so much easier. It's all compacted. We palletize it, we strap it, we mark it with our own tags. It's such an easy thing to do.
I'll bring up some pictures soon of, I guess, the packing and stuff like that. But before I do, just things like the labelling that you've got set up there, the machinery, how you've set it up. Like, what can you tell us about, I guess, not only that, but why you've chosen those particular pieces of machinery and to set it out that way?
Well, machinery basically was based around de-skilling the Flatpack side. Nobody in this side, including management, are tradespeople. They've got a bit of knowledge. They do a bit on the side. On the other side, with the cabinet makers, we used to have to take things in. So, example, corner shelves. Always a pain in the arse. You had to contact on the new colour because you couldn't get a T-mould or whatever it was. So we bought some edging machines that can do any ABS on a internal corner, external round, and a machine to trim it. Once again, de-skilling it. I don't need a cabinet maker to come in and help them out. Shark nose, we've got a 45-degree edger. Horrible job to do by hand. Through a machine, it's easy. Once again, de-skilled it. You can train someone up in minutes to run that machine. You get it going. There's obviously fine tuning with all machinery, but as much as I can de-skill, I don't need to find a cabinet maker anymore. I don't need someone who's been in the industry 5 years to be an installer now, because as far as I'm concerned, they're not there, and the skill level's not what it used to be as well.
Some big wins on labelling on beams, and I guess those type of things, as well as, I guess, errors that have used to be almost every single job have dropped down to almost non-existent. Do you want to expand on some of that?
Probably big things that we struggled with initially was, say, bench tops. Not going with the job, paintwork not going with the job because we left it at the paint shop, and I suppose a bit of labelling through, talking to the Go Cabinets guys what we needed. So metal fronts, you get a sticker, tells you the size. Tracking for bifolds, we get a sticker. All our online store, which I've only really just got on board with now, so it's extra screws and fittings, you get a sticker. So if somebody hands me the paperwork back and I've got stickers on the back that I know that job's not finished, we have tick-off lists, but we just try and bring it all together. So
up here at the moment.
I still run it very basic, so this is no job man. So what I did initially, paint really was hard. Would be slow on getting that job over to the painters because people weren't putting two and two together. So if it was yellow, that's paint work. Mainly we try and push our own routed doors because that way we can cut them. We can cut them instantly. Job comes in, cut them straight to the paint shop. Let's say 2 weeks turnaround on paint. I haven't even cut the whiteboard. I haven't put the fittings together. We get that stuff over to the paint business early, so it speeds up our turnaround time. And that's kind of one of the focuses I picked. I go, I want to be a flat packer who can provide paint, because I know to sell to the trade, there's only so many kitchens you can sell in a pre-finished board or whatever, just little niches like that. I'm happy to do it. It's not hard for us to do. Still things like vinyl is a bit of a bit of a headache. You wait what's probably take 3-4 weeks for vinyl. You've got to get it in. You've got to hand drill it. That's where really the only mistakes we do is when people have to touch it and make decisions and mark things out themselves. Whereas as soon as it's off a machine, I don't know what our mistake rate. It wouldn't even be 1%. It would be. It's so small. I don't even think about it.
Thinking about you setting up things for the painters. Do you want to? Yeah, I mean you've made an interesting decision to vertically integrate or look at expanding into having your own partnership in the painting company as a way to continue to grow. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So yeah, the paint business was originally started to paint just for me, because it's hard to find good painters, like a lot of you probably know. We got, cabinet makers in the area bringing stuff in, so we grew that business. So I am a customer of my own paint business. I clearly don't know what I'm doing there because that does not go through that machine. But it just made it a lot easier. So I do not get involved in the timing of the paint business, but I still can tweak the dates when I need them, especially, and one of the big things was, a client misses a kicker or a filler. Instead of taking it down to your local painter and waiting your 3 weeks again, I can take it in and go, this one needs to go through. We've got to catch this up. And that's, repeat clients. So that client doesn't hate us for, it's probably not us missing a bit, but, you miss an edge, whatever it is, we can get it done, fixed, back out to them, keep the process rolling, keep everyone happy and the client happy. Our client is the cabinet maker, but their client is obviously on their back calling them saying, why is my job not finished? I'm not paying my, 10%, whatever, your remaining payment is. It just sped it up and made everyone happy.
Sped it up. Tell people about, I guess, what that looks like in terms from a client perspective in receiving a fully complete job and, I guess, comparing that to what other people are out there doing.
General cut and edge is kind of, we try and keep it about 2 weeks. We advertise 3, but we generally 2 or a bit under. Paintwork used to be 6 weeks. We still probably advertise about 5, but we can bring it down to 4 and sometimes 3, depending on the workload at the paint business. And also that they're buying my doors. As soon as they go to an Alba door or a Polytech routed door, I'm back in the waiting line as well. And the other thing while I push my own doors is, if there's a mistake, they miss something, they stuff something up, I can produce that door quickly again, get it to the painters quickly, and once again, keeps everyone happy. I was the same before I did any of this. I was in that waiting line, and the job took too long to finish, get off site.
We've got your really easy to follow board here.
Yep.
The yellow ones, I know that they're some examples of the paint jobs on the go, but maybe talking through to people, like you said, some people are out there using JobMan, some have got their own system. A big key about today isn't about, there's only one way to do things, but there are a number of different ways. Tell people, how does this work for you? And
so it just simplifies it. So this order on the right here, there's no hardware, there's no doors coming from external, no bench tops, no miscellaneous. So you're just crossing things off. So when the guys go to load that job, they are looking for a tag, which it's kind of got our logo on it and the names and things like that and the dates. And all they do is go, okay, I need a pack of board, or if it's a large job, it will be 1 of 2 or 1 of 3. But it just simplifies that, and then down the bottom, just your standard variations: a corner shelf that needs to be edged, miter on a kicker, shark nose finger pull or a box finger pull. We can write cupboards in there, metal fronts. They just tick them off. Once again, if somebody has ticked it off, we know it's done. You didn't have to go all through the paperwork again. It was one sheet that you looked at, and as long as people were ticking off and filling them out, it's very easy. And once again, our mistake rate from deliveries is so little now. Once again, I don't worry about it.
And this is coming from a place. What would have before implementing some of these things, and we talk about what would errors be, how often would they be happening?
Errors were quite a lot early on, pre-sticker labelling machines on the machine. People putting stickers on the wrong way. I suppose that was probably the main thing, edging the wrong thing, missing edges. Probably that was a bit of a staffing issue, people that didn't really care about their role so much. Definitely the guys we have now, we miss an edge, maybe 1 out of 100 jobs, we get somebody call up, we've missed an edge. So we'll either recut that part or go and collect the part and get it back out to them, or if they're local, they just come in, run it through. But that's the same with them, a mistake on site, they've damaged an edge or need to cut something down. bring it in, we'll run it through, and that little bit of that little bit of 5% of care goes a long way and gets them back every time. I can't think of a trade-based client we've lost. DIY, they're not as repetitive, but they'll pass your name on to their friends who are also mad about, home improvements.
We've got a few, I guess, game changers for you when it comes into doing things differently, and what helped you move away from some of those areas. You want to talk through any of that?
Yes. All of those things like automatic labelling sped up our process. I could never justify Woodtron's $50,000 sticker machine. I thought that was ridiculous. I reckon it sped us up by a third through the machine. Return feeders on the edge banders, the machines, I don't know how much faster they are, but we set up 2 lines, and at one stage 1 line didn't get turned on because we didn't need it. And that was prior to advertising. So now advertising, we push into both lines, basically running 5 days a week. Paying for themselves, and I still run my jobs through my own system because it's easy to follow the paperwork and everyone does the same thing. So if it's a job for me or a job for another cabinet maker or client, it gets packed the same way, fittings are picked the same way. It goes to the next factory and we build and install it. It just simplified the business so much. There's not different ways of doing things. Everyone gets it the same way. If you're a DIY, mum and dad, you get the same technology, the same software, the same delivery, the same service. We do charge a bit more to the DIY because there are 10 phone calls on the back of that about, why can't I have my kickers at 20 mil instead of 100 mil and things like that. You do have to allow for that a bit in your pricing.
Packaging, delivery, storage. We've got a couple of shots here, but the factory looks a little bit neater than some.
Yep.
How do you use all this?
It's basically straight off the machines. We will strap the job. Depending on if it's going to get delivered, they'll shrink wrap it. But it's just easy from the factory next door. So this is where we actually do the general cabinet making and storage. It's easy to stack. Previously to that, when I was doing it by myself, I was stacking on 12 by 12 pallets, and the factory floor was just covered in pallets. I couldn't stack them. I didn't really worry about it back then, but now we can stack 4 or 5 jobs. Stack them in the racks, move them around, put them in orders of when they're getting picked up or if they are picked up or delivery. So, we can spend a bit of time, sorting ourselves out and being prepared for the next week of deliveries.
There was one thing you mentioned to me the other day about how through all this, the router speed didn't change, but the system around it did?
Yeah, well, routers are... it's the cutter. They can build the fastest router in the world. If the cutter can't take it, you can't cut any quicker. So it's every other little movement. So we looked at So for instance, this would have been a flat pack that the customer asked to be built. So the guys put it in trolleys. They try and stack it for us as in cupboard form. So it was I suppose fine tuning other areas. You can't make it cut faster. The edge band is set at a speed, but it returns back to them. They're standing in one spot. They're not walking up and down the factory. They're just cutting and stacking. So it just got rid of any of those. I suppose, just the finding something in how we do things that's slow or hard or a skill level, and we try and de-skill it and speed it up.
We've spoken a few times about where things have started, ramping up, scaling up. One line, doing some advertising. Now there's 2. But a lot of that has also been, I guess, you've had to look at your pricing and profitability around there. So, few thoughts on that?
Definitely, and it was probably only recently comparing what we were charging compared to other people, making sure we were in the right spot. I didn't want to be working for nothing, but I didn't want to be, too expensive. Looking at buying in bulk instead of per job. So all our stock things, I mean, really, because we stick to one brand, I don't offer anything but Blum, and it makes it easy. So, a 110 degree soft close hinge is in every job. Some 170s, a bifold. We just have them all there ready to go, and the guys just go along from their list, pick all the parts. The only thing we order in per job is drawer runners, because there's the world of Blum drawer runners is too big to stock, and I don't want to simplify it for people and say no, we only do 500s or something like that. So, and in that regard, the pallet comes in of all the drawer runners. You do a basic check it off the list, put your runners with it, screws, and then anything they pick from the store, extra, if they want hanging rails or glue or white caps, you add it to it. Once again, off the list, off the stickers. You can teach people very quickly to do it.
I know that part of this included doing a bit of research. There was a whole day that you spent looking at your own pricing. You've gone out, spent a bit of time checking out Caboodle and IKEA and what their offerings are there and that type of thing. What can you share about that?
I don't ever point the finger at someone else's product and say this is a bad product. All I do is say compare our products. So we can supply better fittings. We don't do 3mm backs. We don't cam things together. It's pretty easy to convince somebody that the product that we can offer is better. It is obviously harder than walking up to a shelf and dragging it off and saying this and putting it on the pallet. But, say Bunnings, for example, their range does not change that quickly. So I'm sure a lot of people here see through, all the renovation shows on television. There'll be a trend that goes hard for a couple of months. It'll be like now the 21mm thick door with the skinny rail, and it's going hard in kind of greens and all this. I know Bunnings are not going to be able to do that. So we grab all the people that have got a bit more, I suppose, design sense and want something that's it's modern and changing, and we can change instantly. We don't have to wait to change. We can move with what the trends are doing.
Lessons in letting go. I think a lot of these changes kind of are kicked off from deciding what's important and what's not, prioritising. What have been some of the journeys there?
I suppose I'm the one in the office that says yes to everything, and my manager's the guy that says no. I want to please everyone. I want the job in. Sometimes you have to pick a lane. There's certain things, I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but I suppose we won't let people bring in.
You've reduced the brands that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. So we push Polytech because of price driven, and Blum definitely push those. But we will let people bring their veneer boards in. We let them choose their veneer, bring it in, and we'll cut that for them. But I won't cut cheap boards that have been imported, because I know. The machines can't cut it well. The edges tear up the vinyl. There's just some things we just say no to. So, once again, it's picking a lane. This is what we can do. This is what we definitely won't do, but learning by mistakes, generally, saying yes to everything and then realising I should have said no.
And there's a buying power that comes to some of that as well.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Because we focus heavily on Polytech and Blum, Lincoln Century and Wilson and Bradley fight for our work. We do spread it across both of them just to keep a foot in each camp, so we can buy and get good buying power. But generally speaking, one will come through the door and cut the other ones, from under the other one. So we start buying a lot of, say, drawers through one company. Hinges, we might be the other company. I'm not really sure, to be honest, right now. But the buying power brings the price down, and we pass some of that onto the customer, but we also take some of that ourselves, as that's how we build up our business and create better profit.
Lastly, and then I'll open it up to a few questions, but I know some of the questions that you've asked yourself and spent some time in doing that is things like, where are you wasting time on jobs that you shouldn't be doing? That's a big one. What would you need to double production and not lose your mind was another one. And then, do you have a system that shows what's ready to pack and what's not? open up on those swings a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose we know jobs are ready to go out by the tag on it. So the guys, if they have not finished a job, they will actually write on the tag, say finger pull or corner shelves or paintwork, and they will cross that off the sheet. Sorry, can't think of the other. A couple of.
What are you wasting time on jobs you shouldn't be doing?
I think we're pretty good now. I suppose you still do have some people that come in and you'll spend an hour talking about a vanity, and you know you're not going to make money off sitting there doing that, but that is a small percentage. It's more you sit down and bring a client in and you set their account up, you help them input some cupboards. You say, go home now and have a bit of a play. We a lot of the time will say, come back in, we'll look at it for you with some, a bit more knowledge, and we can see you've got no end panels or kickers, or, do you really want a cupboard that wide or something like that? Just to, make sure that we're not selling. I don't want to sell someone a mistake, so we'll try and help them pick it out. And generally speaking, you don't have to spend that much time. It might be an hour on a job, but that could be $20,000 worth of cabinets. So it's a small price.
And you're coming off, just to finish off, I think 3 record months in a row or something like that. What do you see as being the biggest game changer to deliver those type of results?
Definitely advertising. And I was actually thinking when they were talking about the CSV files, I use those CSV files to, well, I don't do it myself. I'm terrible at it. But I've got an advertising company. I give them all my clients' details, and we have emails that follow-up emails. Can we help you? Do you want us to give you a call to get jobs across the line? But once that advertising really focused in, I think the first month of advertising we doubled our turnover, and last month was our biggest month we've ever had. And generally speaking, in our area, cabinet making is down and manufacturing is down, yet we had our biggest month, and then the start of this month was a massive week. So it's advertising is everything.
How do you market yourself?
So originally I started trying to market myself using Facebook, just putting ads on. I didn't find them very effective. It was probably 10% growth. So now I've got a marketing company called Megaphone. So I go to them. We sit and chat about the industry, but they are also big into searching out what people are looking for online. So that is still Facebook ads, and I try and use the Facebook ads more to show that we're Australian based. We're not importing. There's a team of people there. It's not just a website and nothing behind it. Showing that there's people there, how we load things, a bit of machinery. Whereas Google ads are more a direct focus. If somebody goes in and does a Google search for Flatpack, they're looking to purchase. So it's not a Facebook ad that's just popped up because you've been looking at vanities and my face comes up and I try and get in your head, whereas a Google search is a direct, they're a customer looking to buy.
Just a heads up, the last session of the day, standing out and finding a USP, last half of that session I'll be taking you through the marketing that a number of people are doing, what not to do, and what we're seeing work well across the board. So that'll be helpful as well.
Follow up. Who are your customers?
I would say we're probably about 70% trade and only growing. DIY market is pretty constant, but the trade-based clients, we seem to be reeling them in better. Just, I suppose, offering turnaround times and products like paint, which not every flat packer will offer. A lot of them will offer routed doors raw, and then you have to find your painter. So, it cuts out that step, which is a bit of a pain, and it also means, any mistakes, say, with paint, which, dry spots, runs and things like that, comes back to us. They bring it back, I sort it out, instead of going to another, a third party and getting things sorted out. I just found it a lot easier to keep those guys on board, and they come back. They, if you give them the right product, they come back all the time.
How do you differentiate between your trade customer and your customer? What do you?
As in what I offer? Same product. Price-wise, DIY, and early on it was quite a lot higher, and I've actually put that down. But if a customer calls up and they you can tell they know what they're talking about, and a lot of people, once again, all these renovation shows know everything about everything, all the products. I'm happy for them to be a trade-based customer because I know I'm not going to have to sit there and explain why we use 16mm board and not 25mm for carcass, and the endless questions on why we're not trying to reinvent it. So it's I don't really, products the same product.
Last question on my mate.
Yep.
So we have a lot of people that have signed up on our portal, but they're not hesitant to use to their file. I guess I want the job. Something is holding them back.
Yep.
Have you experienced that? How do you overcome that?
Absolutely. We try and work on about a 30% win rate. So on your portal, you can see what's been inputted that month. We generally hit about a third. So there is a lot of people that jump on who think that it's going to cost nothing to get a job. And I always explain to them, this is custom. We are cutting absolutely what you want. Nothing sitting on the shelf. There is a price to that. We will chase customers. We can see them on the portal logging on. If it's a job of decent value, we will contact them and say, can we give you a hand? But there are tyre kickers there.
You're being proactive. So
Proactive as much as you can, but I wouldn't contact everyone because I know, and I know myself, I jump onto other people's portals and have a look. I want to see what other people are offering, how they're doing it, what their machinery setup is. I want to know how to do it better. Like I'm not worried about competitives, I just want to do it right. So if I'm doing it right, I don't have to worry about the guy next door, as I'm trying to do it better.
Most of you will likely get a call from the lovely Estelle. I don't know where she is. She's over there. Oh, okay. But yeah, I know at the moment she's working on just putting together a bit of a package there, which is, in terms of like a combination of the 5 most commonly sent sort of emails that some of the guys are using that are doing really well with the system, basic outlines on what they're saying on the phone calls. So yeah, not ready right now, but next week or two, if you mention that to her, we'll be able to send that out to you. So you've got a bit of a plan there if you feel that's something that's lacking.
So we, on the back of that question, we did have a text come in, Andrew, basically similar, but what would you say is your number one tip for actually getting a customer in the door and sitting down with you to work on an order?
As I said, especially new customers, it's really good to have them sit down and once again, they see the machines working, jobs going out. Lee, who runs the Flatpack side for me, he says 100% hit rate. I would say it's a little bit lower, but it's very high. As soon as they're sitting down in front of us, we've got that job. We don't. The only people, I suppose, that would come in who are, off the streets, just walking past, may, not like the price or something like that, but if they've actually come in with a job and sit down, they've already decided they're not going to the cabinet maker, they want to save the money on the labour front. It's virtually 100% hit rate. If we sit with them and have a chat with them, we've already hooked.
There was a couple other questions, might have time for another one or two. Yeah, Rod?
So I've got one for you, Andrew. When you're doing, you obviously run your jobs one job at a time.
Yep.
Batch your job.
Yep.
So when you've got to do a remake,
Yep.
and that's sort of go through your system, how do you guarantee with that remake that's been done?
A remake from our mistake or going
through production.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So my guys, as they're cutting, drop something moves on the CNC, whatever the reason, edging issue, we will go straight into the office, run that part. They'll either come in, we've taught the guys to run their own jobs to a certain degree. So on my paperwork, I have the job number written up the top. They go straight into CAD code, type in that number, brings up the whole job. They turn off the colours they don't want. If it's just whiteboard, for example, go into whiteboard, turn off all the parts and go in and click on that. So we fix them instantly because you can't, if you run a list or I'll do it later, that's where the mistakes happen. And once again, our mistake rate is so low. When they come and tell me about a mistake, it's like water off a duck's back. Whereas in cabinet making, it's every day, this is wrong, this is broken, this doesn't work.
So you don't use the wood can, the barcode scan?
Not at the moment. I am looking into barcode scanning, especially for, say, vinyl and doors that come in from other companies. Probably I'm a bit slow off the back of that. I've backburned it for a long time, but no, not at the moment.
For anyone here that is doing it, that's a fucking game changer.
Yeah, so you can scan it and just put another piece on and cut.
Fucking good.
Yeah, yeah.
And not only that, too, that like because we ship things in a box.
Yep.
If we packed everything in the box and you get to the end, if you're missing one part,
Yeah.
we're not going through this box to find it.
Yeah.
Fit the free code.
Yeah.
The custom may end up with 2 pieces, but at least that way, at the end of the job, we're going to
Yep.
get it complete straight out. Link there, just the date and time, but it's scanned off.
Yep.
And we know that everything is in there.
Yeah.
But Andrew, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Great to pick your brain for a little bit.